In the previous video on if, else, if, we looked at this calculator application, and we saw that when the text changed in either of these two text boxes or the operator changed, the text value for that operator label changed, it would recalculate the operation. And we used an if, else, if in doing that when we're handling those three text changed values. I'm going to rewrite this to use a select case structure instead. And oftentimes there's more than one way to do something. And when we're evaluating the same value in each of these conditions, such as here we're looking at the value of LBL operation.text, LBL operation.text, LBL operation.text, and LBL operation.text. When we're evaluating all the same conditions as equaling different values, a select case is really the ideal structure to use. So I'm going to select this whole if, else if, and if structure, and I'm going to replace it with a select case structure. So I type select case, and then what I want to evaluate is going to be LBL operation.text. When I press the enter key, it's going to create an end select for me. And then in between the select case and end select, I'll type a case statement. And I'm going to check to see if LBL.text is equal to a plus sign. So I simply do case plus, in quotes, since it's text, it's going to be a string value. And what I want to have it do is solution equals num1 plus num2. And then I'll add another case. This one will be a minus sign. And here, solution is going to equal num1 minus num2. And I'm simply going to select these lines, copy them, and paste them twice, and change this to an x, in which case I want to multiply, so use an asterisk between num1 and num2. And we'll change this one to a forward slash, and that's the operation I want to do, num1 divided by num2. And then I'm going to add a case else clause, which will be our default. So if none of those are matches, we're going to set txt solution text equal quote quote, so it'd be a null string. Now in reality what's going to happen is if none of those are matches, we're really not going to see that take place, because the screen will refresh so quickly that we're going to see the value of solution, which initially is going to be 0, be placed in that text box. Let's test this and see how this works. So now if I change this to multiplication, subtraction, division, addition, if I change these values, everything is updating. It simply is another decision structure that in most cases is a little more readable when we're comparing just one value. Here's another example of using select case. I've created an application that has a label here. I just named the label 1, and it has an image value, or image property set. And what I did was I imported into the resource file 5 different images. These are all 400 by 300 in size. And then I created 5 more. Actually, I created 5 picture boxes over here using those same images, and I shrunk down in each of those picture boxes. I set the size mode to stretch image, and so it gave me little thumbnails. And then on top of that, I put a little label with a number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are not buttons. In order to change the image, we're going to ask the user from our label down here, give them some instructions. To view an image, press the number key of the thumbnail. So they would press the 1 key on the keyboard, the 2 key on the keyboard, the 3 key, and so forth. Let me run this so you can see this work. So if I press the 2 key, I get the koala. The 3 key, I get the lighthouse. 4 is the penguins. 5 is the tulips. And I'm back to 1 for the desert image. Let's take a look at our code. What I've set up is a Form 1 key press event. So I'm handling me.keyPress. Key press is the act of pressing down and releasing a key from the keyboard. And it has a argument of E as system.windows.forms.keyPressEventArgs. And I can take that value of E and get the keychar property of the key that was pressed. So I'm using a select case to do that. So I'm looking at what key did they press, and if they pressed a 1, case 1, I'm going to set the label to my desert image in resources. If they press 2, I'm going to set my label image to the koala. If they press 3, I'm going to set the image of the label to lighthouse. If they pressed 4, I'll set it to penguins. If they press 5, I'll set it to tulips. And if they press anything else, we're going to show a message box that simply says, sorry, only pressing keys 1 through 5 work, and have it say invalid choice for the title. So again, if I test this and I press letter number 4, I get the penguins. But if I press number 6, I get that message box saying, sorry, only pressing keys 1 through 5 work. And so in the structure, you can see it's pretty straightforward and very readable. And each of these cases is looking at the value of e.keychar. One of the really nice features of select case in VB is you can specify ranges and multiple values. So I have here a select case structure with XYZ being an integer value. And so we're comparing numeric values. Our cases are not in quotes because they're not strings. But in this particular clause here, if XYZ were 1, or if it was 5, or if it was 7, it would execute this line. In the next clause, I'm looking at a range. If case is 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12, it would do that item. Here's a condition that we can use within a case structure. Case is greater than 15. So if it's 15 or higher, I'm going to have it do something else. Another example of that, case is less than or equal to 20. Now in reality, if this was an actual structure, it would hit this one, case is greater than 15. Let's say case was 18, or XYZ was 18. It would execute that statement, and then this next clause, even though it's true, case 18 is less than or equal to 20. That would never get executed because once it's one that's true, everything else is ignored. But just to give you an example here of how to write these different clauses. So this would be less than or equal to 20. I want to do something. And then of course we have our case else that will do some default thing. C# does not really have these type of ranges within the case structures. It's really a very nice feature within Visual Basic.